Three, two, one. Hi, my friends, it's Matt again. So today we're going to be going through Beauty and the Beast Overture. Now, this is, of course, by Alan Menken. There it is there. By Alan Menken. This is not from the original Beauty and the Beast from the 90s, early 90s. This is not that Beauty and the Beast. This is from the 2017 remake with Emma Watson. And a lot of people don't like that movie, but I would argue that the music is phenomenally done. I know there's a lot of discussion about the singing. I'm not going to get into that. I'm talking about specifically the orchestra stuff and the orchestrations of the songs, as well as the original or the new songs that were added for this film. I think it's phenomenally done. But of course, that's just my opinion, and who really cares what I think? But today we're going to be going over Beauty and the Beast Overture. So here's a little preview of it. Now this is not the... this was not played in the film, oddly enough. They released it on the soundtrack, but it was not part of the film. I think on the DVD extra you can choose to play it with the overture at the beginning, and then when they do it live in concert, I believe they do also play the overture at the beginning before the film starts as a traditional overture to a film or a play or anything like that. But it was not included theatrically, I don't think, as part of the film or anything like that. But it's a phenomenal piece. It's only 3 minutes, 3 minutes and 8 seconds. So phenomenal piece, very energetic, but also some very slow parts. And it includes basically every song in the film. So songs included are Belle, Gaston, the Mob song, How Does a Moment Last Forever, which is original to this newer film, Beauty and the Beast, of course, and Evermore, which is also original to the new 2017 film, New. So before we get into it, let's go over the instrumentation really quick. And again, just like the Back to the Future, this is going to be a Hal Leonard Symphony Pops thing. So it will be available for purchase. It's very reasonably priced. And of course, I'll link it down in the description if you would like it. Again, great to study these things. So let's get into it. The instrumentation here, pretty standard. So we got 2 flutes, piccolo, 2 oboes, English horn, 2 B-flat clarinets, and E-flat clarinet. And I would be interested to know, like, firsthand, asking him what the E-flat clarinet is there for. I'm going to guess that it is the higher range that he wanted, higher range with that clarinet sound still, because B-flat clarinets cannot hit some of the notes that this E-flat clarinet is hitting in this piece. So I would guess that it's probably for the higher range. 2 bassoons we have, contrabassoon, fairly standard. 4 French horns, 3 B-flat trumpets, 3 trombones, and an optional bass trombone. So that's a little unconventional, I would say. Typically, it's 2 trombones and a bass trombone that's like required. But this we have 3 regular trombones, I guess you would say, and an optional bass trombone that is on the same staff as the tuba. But again, optional. And of course, we have the tuba. Then timpani, 3 percussion, harp, piano, optional celeste, which is a nice kind of touch. I don't know that we can hear it specifically in the recording. I assume the recording has the celeste, but I'm not sure that we can definitely pick it out. I'll try to listen for it. And of course, typical strings. So, with that said, I think we're ready. I'm going to take a sip of this water here. All right, with that said, let's get into it. This was written by Alan Menken. I would like to point that out. So this is not rearranged by anyone. This was not rearranged for live orchestra for anyone. or by anyone. This is the exact thing that is in the soundtrack that I will also link to. I literally have the Beauty and the Beast soundtrack up, and it's Overture by Alan Menken. So he wrote this. He obviously wrote the original Beauty and the Beast music as well. All right, so let's get into it. Let me make sure my volume's... Ooh, my volume's way too loud. All right. Let's get into it. Okay, so first things first, we have a pickup measure. So a pickup measure just means that we have 1 or 2 beats. It's in 4/4, so we have 1 or 2 beats at the beginning that starts us off into the first main measure. Now this pickup measure is only 1 beat, and it's basically flutes, clarinets, violins, violas, just playing a scale up to the first kind of trill note that they're doing, which is an E, C sharp. It looks like E, C sharp, A is kind of the chords that we're getting here, and they're trilling up to the next note. Now violins in that first pickup measure, they're literally going from a bottom E, so E on that first line of the staff, to 2 octaves above that. So in one measure, they're playing 14 notes to fly up to that first trill there. And then what do we have going on? Well, the melodies, obviously, with the trumpets, you can hear them blaring it. French horn 2, it looks like, is the only one doubling with the trumpet there. And then we have counter melody. So bum 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 bum, and then while they're holding that note, we have bum 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 bum, going up to the next key change there. And so that counter melody is accented, played with the trombones and also the 3rd and 4th French horns. So let's start that over there. Okay, so we have the melody now switching over to the woodwinds and the strings, upper strings. So we have flute, piccolo, oboe. We have violins 1, 2, and violas playing the melody with accents again by the French horns, now all French horns, and then all trombones. Bum, bum, bum. And it does say in the notes here, it says horn lead on the trombone part. It says horn leads, and then on the horn part it says bring out. So they really wanted that brassy French horn sound for that accent there, as opposed to kind of, I guess, just the blaring trombones. So let's hear that part again. Okay, so that was a nice key change there. And how did we do that? So basically, violins, upper woodwinds are still playing the melody, ba-da-da-da-da-da-dum, bum, and then they kind of go up a half step to that key change. But what is happening with the bass line is crazy. So really, we're just doing a chromatic scale down to that bass note, which is a D natural, it looks like. So while everyone's doing, or while the upper parts are doing, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-bum, the bass, which is all trombones, tuba, is doing bum 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 bum. So they're just doing a chromatic scale down, basically. Actually, no, it's not even chromatic. It's just a scale, in the new key, going down to that D natural. So, And then immediately at that point, so we have a molto ritardando on that measure, so slow down. Then we go into 2-2, which is cut time, at a tempo of 135 for a half note. So we're going from ba da 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 ba bum ba bum ba 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 ba, right? So let's go back just a little bit. There's the horns. All right, so what's going on here? Well, we obviously switched songs, right? So this is the Gaston song. And it's normally, well, is it the Gaston song? Bum, 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 bum. No, it's Belle. It's Belle. We haven't gotten to the Gaston song yet. So this is the Belle kind of quick part of Belle, I guess you could say. And the accents, bum, 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 start off with the trumpets and French horns, all of them. And then trumpets drop out for the bum, 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 bum. And then trombones are added for that, as well as the upper strings in octaves. So, and then trumpets come back in for the bum, 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 again, the second time. So let's go back a little bit, hear it again. Bum, 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 bum. Add the trumpets. Okay, so that is just a crazy, crazy, not only key change, but time signature change and tempo change, kind of. So what are we doing at this point? Let's see. So we go into 3-4, and they have a dotted half note equals 86. So let's hear it one more time here. Let's do it again. All right, so you can see how they kind of changed the beats. Very interesting how they did that. Of course, instrumentation pretty much remains the same, although we do add instruments doing the bum 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 ba da dum bum bum bum. So we have, you know, trumpets, French horns, all woodwinds at this point, and all upper strings at this point doing that. Yeah. We do have a cool bass line there. So they're basically just doing bum, 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 bum when that waltz part starts, right? But then they have a cool let's try to hear that. Kind of hard to hear, but basically we have the cellos, basses, lower piano, both bassoons and contrabassoon doing that. So that's really well done. All right, let's keep going. Okay, so this is a very good, first of all, I'd like to point out that, so we're at measure 28 at this point. They changed the tempo a little bit, so it went from dotted half note equaling 86 to dotted half note equaling 74. So we have slowed down a little bit for the actual melody part of this, but I also would like to point out that the tempo direction, or kind of feel direction, he just wrote muscular waltz. So at this point, we're at a muscular waltz. for obviously Gaston. But what's going on here? So basically violins have the melody throughout this part. Violins and oboes, it looks like. We have some of the accents provided by the piano and the French horns. So bum 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 ba da dum bum bum bum. Horns are doing bum 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 ba da dum. So they're kind of just giving that waltz feel, because that's a pretty typical waltz thing to do, is doing a little bum 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 bum. And of course the bass lines are just doing quarter notes on the downbeat of each measure. Bum 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 bum. And interesting to note that while the violins are holding that melody through, they're consistently playing it. We have the trumpets coming in just on certain parts of it, just to highlight and make it shimmer a little bit, give it a little shine. So this is a brilliant overture. This is one of my favorite pieces, and this is one of the reasons it's so good, is that you don't get bored. Your ear does not get bored in this piece. So the violins are playing the melody, not even for very long, just maybe 8 measures, but your ear would get tired of it. So he gives it a little pizzazz with the trumpets. So bum 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 ba da dum bum 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 ba da 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 dum bum bum bum. So they slowly build up through that. Trumpets don't play the whole melody. They just play certain parts to let it shine. Bum 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 ba da. Bum 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 bum. Okay, that is my absolute favorite part of this piece. So we go from upper strings, trumpets really blasting that melody, and then we go to a very smooth, and they do it so well. So what is playing this? Well, we have French horns, 3 and 4, and cello. Beautiful sound, beautiful mix. I'm not sure that you would be able to hear like live. I don't know how well you would hear the cellos over 2 French horns. It's only 2, so it's not all 4, so that helps a lot. But this recording just does it brilliantly, where you can hear the cello. It almost only sounds like cello. So we have the cello and French horns 3 and 4. Very lyrical there. And then French horns 1 and 2 are still doing that bump 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 bump, along with pianos, of course. And violins 1 and 2 have switched from the melody. Now they're kind of doing a weird thing on the downbeat. They're doing 2 quarter notes each downbeat. So they're doing ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. So let's hear that again. Hear those violins. All right, what happened there? If I talk for a second, something happens. Let's hear it again. So we have a nice little addition to the melody there. So we switch again back to violins and basically all upper woodwinds, including bassoon, playing ba-dum, ba-da-dum-dum-bum. But what's giving it that little pizzazz in that measure? Because you could just do ba-dum, ba-da-da-da-dum. That would be boring. And again, this piece is anything but boring. So he does ba-dum, ba-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-da-ba-ba-ba-bum. So how is he achieving that? So let's break it down. There's 2 things going on. There is violin 1, piccolo, and E-flat clarinet playing da 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 da. Now, in addition to that, there is bassoons, clarinets, and oboe and flutes doing da-da-dum, da-da-dum. So they have 2/16 grace notes, da-da-dum, and they're holding that. But that flare at the beginning of that note, in combination with da-da-da-da-da-da, creates this nice da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So it kind of combines, it almost intertwines to give us this nice little flare for what would normally be just a dotted half note. Boom. But that would be boring. So let's hear it again. What a great flare there. Trumpets with the melody again. Back to, okay, so now we have horns, strings, and oboes. And then trumpets come in as we're slowing down here. And it's actually switching to 4/4, and the bum 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 is actually triplet quarter notes. So it's really bum 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 bum. All right, let's hear it again. All right, so what happened there? Basically, we key changed either 2 or 3 times, but we're essentially just going up half steps each time. So, bum ba da da dum, ba da da dum, ba da da dum, ba da da dum. Right? Let's hear it again. All right, so we can kind of tell what's playing the melody here. It's obviously trumpets, some French horns, some violin, doing those half step, and the bass are doing really cool things as well. They're basically also going up half steps, playing that pedal tone, but they're doing it at a different time than the upper instruments are. So it just, again, anything but boring. So again, it's intertwining. So let's hear it. Let's hear it. So you hear how that intertwines. So the bass is doing it basically at the end of the measure, while the upper instruments are doing it at the beginning of that measure. It sounds really good and it works really well. So, but basically for key change purposes, we're only going up. We're going up a half step and then a half step again. So now we are playing a, well, C sharp for trumpet, B natural. Okay, so that is horns 3 and 4. Bum 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 ba bum 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 bum. So horns 3 and 4, along with violin 2, along with clarinet and English horn. And it's also interesting to note what the bass line is doing at this point. So the bass line is going down half steps. So while the melody is bum 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 bum, the bass is doing bum 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 bum. So let's hear it again. Try to listen for that bass. Really good. Okay, so what's happening there? Well, the melody was basically French horns and strings. So we have that. And that hints at, if I'm not mistaken, that's hinting at one of the pieces. Maybe it's not. It sounds a little bit like one of the new songs. And then we switch to lower brass. So we have trombones, 2, 3, bass trombone, tuba, bassoons, contrabassoons, cello, bass, all now doing. And then the accents are being played by the trumpets and only first trombone on the and of the beat. So bop, right, bop, 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 bop. Yeah, that's kind of a weird rhythm. Let's listen to it. Very cool, though, how they did that. So yeah, that's just trumpets. Also violins, too. And of course, trombone, 1. And then we go into bum, 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 bum. So they're real big on half steps here. I don't know if you've noticed that. We've done a lot of half step key changes. We're doing another one. So bum, ba da 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 da. So trumpets are going from F sharp to F natural. Everyone else is basically going from a, let's see, what is it? They're going to a C natural as the main. Well, okay, I take that back. So trumpets are going to F natural, but the melody is now starting on a C natural, because the melody is now bum, ba-da-da-da-da-da-dum, which is the new song. So let's hear this whole thing again. So we do have trumpets dropping down a half step, and then of course now we're in the melody is starting on C natural, with melody being played by violins 1 and 2 in octaves, so an octave apart, English horn, and both clarinets. Okay, and interestingly, so horns are playing harmonies to this. They're not playing any of this bum, ba, da, 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 da. They're playing just quarter notes, half notes, all kind of just, they're basically a pad right now, like a synth pad. Not really, but just kind of playing chords that go along with this that really fill it out. And then we also have a pulse going on with the bassoons, contrabassoon, and double bass. We have a bum 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 bum, playing the same note the whole time. Let's try to listen for that. It's hard to hear that. I don't really hear it. So we just did another half-step key change. So trumpets did ba-da-da-da-da-da-dum, bum. So they go from C natural to C sharp. Everyone else is basically going to a B flat. A lot of half-step stuff around here, and it all works so well. Let's try to hear this again. I cannot hear that bass line though. Okay, I do want to point out, so we have a really cool descending line here. It's very hard to hear. You're going to have to turn it up. But we have a cool descending line. So we have ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-dum. And while that's happening, we have cello, 1 bassoon, or well, alternating bassoons, and then eventually viola doing basically Yeah, it's hard to hear. Let's play it again. Very hard to pick out. But again, the attention to detail in this piece, of course it's Alan Menken, so it's going to be good, but the attention to detail in this piece is mind-blowing. Anyway, so we're back to trumpets. Now we're at that half-step key change. Okay, so what happened there? So trumpet 1 is playing the melody, along with violin 1, viola, flute, oboe, and that's it. So what else is going on here? Well, we have basically these, also violin 2 is divisi between 3 notes, tremoloing, so just playing them really fast, just a chord, just to give it that kind of energy. And then we have these kind of bell tone things. So the melody is bum ba da 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 da. But what's going on with horns and trombones? And we have the chimes helping them out. That's what really makes it that bell tone. We have the chimes helping them out. They're doing bum 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 bum, and then they go even higher. So let's listen for those accents. So trombones drop out completely, but the horns switch from those bell tones to adding to the melody. Bum, 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 bum. Now, who's holding the note? So everyone else has basically an 8th note. Bum, ba, da, 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 dum. And then who's holding the note is horn 1, horn 3, celeste. So there we get that little bell sound from the celeste. Violin 1 and viola. And they have a forte piano, so they're hitting that accent as well, kind of like the 8th note, bum, but they're just dropping to piano, so bum, and then they're just holding it really quiet. And we have a fermata, so we're just kind of holding until the conductor's like, and we're done. So let's hear that again. Half step. So again, horn 1, 3, violin 1, viola, and oboe are the only ones holding that very quiet ba. And then we continue. Okay, so we obviously slowed down quite a bit. Now quarter note is equaling 102, so kind of this speed here. Let's see. First thing you notice is harp. Harp is kind of just doing these chords, plucking these chords. We start off, the musical instruction is tenderly, so we are being very quiet and tender with this part, because obviously we're going into the Beauty and the Beast theme. So violin, we have a solo, and their instrument, their playing direction is dolce, which is sweetly, I believe. We have flutes, English horn, and 1 bassoon, kind of just holding a nice little chord there, along with the harp, and literally that's all that's playing. So let's hear that part again. Let me go back a little more. Okay, so then we have a cello solo doing that ba ba da 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 da, which is obviously hinting at the theme to come. So the violin solo, this is a very interesting transition. The violin solo is playing ba ba da 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 da, which is the melody we just finished. So they're playing that part over again, and then the cello is playing the melody we're going into, which is ba ba da 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 da. So let's hear it again, and we switch when the cello takes over. We're switching harmonies basically, so we have violas playing to V, C, piano adds in, harp drops out for that measure. But the cello is playing that ba-da-da-da-dum. And then we have clarinet 1 solo. This is basically all solo parts. Clarinet 1 solo is playing bum ba-da-da-da-da-da-dum. So they're playing, what is that piece called? What is that song called? Hold on. How Does a Moment Last Forever? So they're playing, so we start off violin playing How Does a Moment Last Forever. Transition with cello playing ba-da-da-da-dum, Beauty and the Beast. And the downbeat of the next measure is clarinet solo playing bum ba-da-da-da-da-dum, How Does a Moment Last Forever? So let's put all this together here. So violins first. Transition with cello. Clarinet. French horn solo there. Okay, so what's the instrumentation going on here? Basically, violins 1 and 2 are playing extremely low register, literally almost their lowest note possible. That gives it a really warm feeling. And they're all playing. Viola, cello, really just viola, is Divisi playing 2 notes. Piano, they're doing this pulse, which is bum 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 bum. And then the bass, the only instrument playing the bass is piano and contrabass, which is everyone. So they're just doing bum 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 bum. They're literally doing a scale with that pattern. I don't know if you can hear it. They're playing very quiet. Okay, so just then, violins went from playing in their lowest register, they went up an octave just to give it, again, some more interest for our ear, and we added flute 1 and English horn also playing ba-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da. And of course, that's not part of the original melody. They're kind of improvising a little bit there, and we are getting into a key change. Let's hear it again. Octave jump. Now, what do you think that was? That was another half step. So, another half step there. Beautiful, beautiful, like, what is it, a portmanteau by the violins where they kind of just slide into that higher note. Beautiful. Okay, so who switched to the melody? Now we have French horns 1 and 3, along with both flutes, both oboes, English horn, E-flat clarinet. So you really hear, and E-flat clarinet's playing kind of high, so you really hear the woodwinds over the horns, but it's a really nice blend. Okay, and of course, who took over this pulse? Because we still have the pulse going on. Now it's trombones and tuba. So trombones and tuba are doing bum, 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 bum. They're doing the pulse. We have a little figure going on in the violas and clarinets where they're just kind of doing I don't know if you can really hear it. Yeah, you can't really hear it good with this recording. It's basically what the harp is playing. So if you hear the harp doing it, and I can hear the harp doing it a little bit, that's basically that's also what the viola and clarinets are doing. And then of course we're switching at this point from woodwinds, and now trumpets pick up the melody. Counter melody with violins, trumpets grandly with that entrance there. So it's interesting to note the trumpets come in unison. So trumpets 1, 2, and 3 at that ba-da-da-da-dum, they're playing the same notes for the ba-da-da-dum, and then when they hit the bam, then they go divided. So at that point, they're playing 3 different notes, a really grand chord, sometimes clashing a little bit, but just really broadening it out. So they go from ba-da-da-da-rum-pam, playing nice chords. So let's hear that part again. Oh, wrong part. So at that point, we only have trumpet 1 playing the melody for the brass. And then that's it. Trumpet 1 is holding it together there. And of course, the strings come in with the melody, along with some woodwinds up here. Okay, so what's going on here? So there are so many tempo changes. We got a poco rit, then we got an a tempo, then we got a rit, then we got a slightly slower, now quarter note equals 80, then we got a poco rit, a tempo, rit. Literally every measure the tempo is changing. I think they just kind of want this really free feeling, so you kind of go slow and then you da 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 ba da da da, kind of this free feeling. But they're very much heavily notating it. So trumpets have the melody. We switch from trumpets to violins, still have the melody as well. But we have this nice counter melody with the horns. Let me try to get that again. Yeah, so the horns play the melody for that first so they have the melody the first part, and then they kind of go into a nice counter melody, jumping an octave from G to G, which is pretty high in the register for French horns. So really that brassy, bright, powerful French horn sound we got going on there. And the melody jumps back to trumpet 1, violin 1, viola, with trumpets 2 and 3 and trombones basically playing harmonies here. Okay, so we now switched to a new song, which is called Evermore. Yeah, Evermore. So we have switched to a new song. It's interesting though, because the instruments that are playing the new melody of Evermore are, woodwinds. We got a trumpet, we got trombones, we got violin, viola. But the end, right before we transition into that, we have the woodwinds and violin 1 playing what we think would continue the melody that we're already hearing. So this is going to be hard to point out. So you heard that ba-dum, and we expect it to be ba-da-da-da-dum, because that is how the song goes. But we get ba-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-da-da-dum. So we get that tease of ba-dum, and then we don't get the rest of that. We get ba-dum, ba-da-da-da-da-da-dum. Let's hear it again. Alright, so we got trumpets, strings, woodwinds. Okay, so what happened there? So French horns are doing a crazy thing and it sounds so good. They basically have a counter melody here, which is bum ba da 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 da. Let's try to hear it. And then, of course, we have the trumpets again playing ba-da-da-da-da, which is a hint of the Beauty and the Beast theme that we're not really doing anymore. But it's a counter melody that's the old theme while we're just kind of holding a half note. So, again, brilliantly intertwined here. And while the trumpets are playing ba-da-da-da-dum, the violins and flute and oboe are still doing ba-da-da-da-dum. So, I mean, just brilliant putting things together here. Strings, basically, here. Okay, so this always confused me how they did this measure, because it sounds like they're changing time signatures almost, because we're not on the correct beat, so it sounds a little weird. But let's listen to it again. I'm going to kind of conduct as we go, because they do not change the time signature. So very interesting, because that whole thing feels off, but in a good way. It feels like we're kind of on the wrong beat at certain points, like maybe we switched to 3/4 or something like that, but we didn't. It's just kind of weirdly notated, I guess. So the melody is the bum 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 bum, which is played by the trumpets and woodwinds, and we have a nice counter melody with the horns. Again, horns are great for counter melody, and he's doing it really well here. So horns are doing bum bum da 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 bum bum bum. I got the notes all wrong, but let's listen to it. Bum bum. So really nice counter melody and stuff with the horns there, which is the only instruments playing that part. And then of course we go into, I'm just going to narrate this first because it ends pretty abruptly. We go into trumpets, woodwinds, strings with the melody bum 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 ba da dun dun bum 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 bum, and then the horns and viola and cello are playing this beautiful counter melody, which is once again the Beauty and the Beast theme on the second half of each measure. So bum 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 bum, and then higher than I can sing. But let's listen to it again. Here's the weird part. So trumpets. Okay, so again, trumpets, woodwinds, violins had the melody there for the accents. Bum 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 ba da da dum ba da 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 dum bum. And this is a pretty high note for the trumpets. Trumpet 1 is hitting a high D in their pitch, of course. which for everyone else is just a C. But so what do we have going on that last measure? Because it sounds a little cluttered, but obviously in a good way. So bum, 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 bum. What's going on there? So we have all the strings are doing tremolo. So they're just doing this as fast as they can. Even the bass. Violins 1 and 2 and viola and cello are all divisi by 2. So they're playing 2 notes each part, just kind of a chord. And then woodwinds are all doing a whole step trill. So let's see, the flutes, for example, are playing an E and a C. Oboes playing a G and a C, a bigger gap there, a fourth. But they're all doing trills on essentially the same notes that the strings are doing tremolo on. So strings are doing this, staying on the same note, which gives it that kind of shine and energy, while the woodwinds are actually trilling to the next whole note above that. So, and the combination of those two things give it a really good energy, along with triangle. Yay for triangle is doing this. And of course, the suspended cymbal is rolling at that point. And the harp part is where it really shines, because in this recording, they've really mic'd up the harp well. And it literally is going from high C, very, very low C, back to the high C to end on that note. And it literally says, lots of glisses. That's what it says. So they obviously wrote it simplified, but they wanted the harp to kind of be going crazy there with lots of glisses, which it is. So let's listen to that again. I'm going to go back quite a bit, and we can hear the whole ending. So you can really hear those harp glisses, and of course those trills with the woodwinds are coming in nicely, and the tremolo with the strings are also helping out. And we end with the, a quarter note. Everyone's playing double forte. Trumpets hitting that high D, so that's kind of the pinnacle, the peak note there. Bomb. It's also the tonic, I guess you could say, because the bass is also hitting that bump. So yeah, and at this point, violin 1 is divided between octaves, so they're hitting that high C 2 octaves apart, or 1 octave apart, excuse me. Yeah, so that about covers the piece, my friends. I hope you liked it. Of course, I'm going to put in some pictures so you can follow along with the score as I did. But yeah, I'm going to link this in the description if you want it. It's available at Sheet Music Plus for a very reasonable price. And again, if you like this music, I highly recommend you get the score. Even if you don't know much about the reading music or score analysis or anything like that, it's still fun to learn about the different instruments, how they sound, how they combine, and also how great composers like Alan Menken have made this piece, and what they do behind the scenes to get it to sound like this. I mean, this is, as you can see, this is just a very complex piece. Not really, harmony-wise. It's fairly straightforward harmony-wise and stuff like that, but with all the counter melodies, all the intertwining melodies of the piece previous, the song coming up, a hint at that, and the key changes, lots and lots of key changes. By the way, this is written in no key signature. It just like typical film scores are, it has no key signature throughout the piece. Every note just has an accidental, which means every note that is a sharp or a flat just has that sharp or flat written in front of it, because I would imagine it does change keys so much that they did not feel the need to change key signatures every 4 measures, because that's just a waste and it's more trouble than it's worth. But as you can see, very complicated, very brilliant piece by Alan Menken. I will link it in the description below. I hope you enjoyed, my friends. If you did like this, feel free to comment, feel free to subscribe, feel free to like this video. It does help the algorithm, and I'm trying to grow the channel, so that would be much appreciated. But in the meantime, until next time, have a great day, my friends, and thank you for watching. Great.